Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for VMware's multi-cloud live stream. Just a reminder to you all that our live stream demos are taking place every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. We're featuring new speakers and topics, and the recordings are hosted on the VMware Cloud YouTube channel, so you can watch them on demand. And we encourage you to subscribe to the channel to make sure you stay up to date with all of the latest. Today, we are excited to have Francisco and John with David and myself here today for part 3 of our series on operationalizing your hybrid cloud. So if you weren't able to join us for part 1 or 2, you can catch those replays on our YouTube channel. But with that, I just wanted to let you introduce yourself and provide an overview of what we'll be talking about today.
All right. Hey, thanks, Lauren. So I am John Diaz. I am with the Cloud Management Business Unit. I'm a technical marketing architect. And I'll let Francisco, when he picks up, introduce himself. But what I wanted to do, because Francisco is going to be doing the presentation today, I won't be doing it. So I wanted to come in and set the stage and remind you of what we've looked at so far. So we have our customer, the Massachusetts Omni Automated, that's a mouthful, the Massachusetts Omni Automated Devices robotics firm that is migrating into a multi-cloud model using hybrid cloud from VMware with VMware Cloud on AWS. And so what we looked at so far is they're using vRealize in the first phase to kind of plan what workloads will move, what capacity they need for those workloads, and then to monitor the migration process. And then once we have workloads moved over there, we showed how easy it is to continue to use vRealize to monitor and manage that environment, even though those virtual machines and applications are on a different cloud. Now, today, what Francisco is going to show you is how we can add self-service capabilities to that hybrid cloud so that our users, the developer who builds these applications for Moad, is going to be able to perform or deploy new workloads into that hybrid cloud, that VMware Cloud on AWS, as well as perform day 2 actions in a self-service way, so they can reboot machines and snapshot and just a whole lot of other things. So with that, Francisco, I'll drop it over to you and let you give us a great demo.
Thanks a lot, sir. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco. I'm a senior technical marketing for VMware, specialized on vRealize automation with a lot of automation background and telco background. So if you need some help to build your 5G core at home, just give me a ring and I'll give you a hand with that as well. But today, as John mentioned, we're going to go and continue with the last part of the demonstration of the MOA, right? So yes. Let's start sharing my screen so you can see what we are going to be doing. So yes, we started planning, we migrated, great. Now we are managing our application, excellent. But now you have a new cloud environment, right? You need to continue building new workloads. It's not just enough to migrate, but you may want to add more. And you want to do it in the same way you were doing it before. So we need to extend that automation capability to be able to handle all these cloud environments. And with vRealize automation, that's quite easy. So let me show you how it's done. So we are going to go into the system, right? This is VRA, vRealize automation. So the first thing we need to do is to tell VRA, hey, there is a new cloud available to you. It's public cloud. It's a VMware cloud. Whatever that is, we need to configure it. We need to stage it in a way that the provisioning engine can work with our existing offerings and do more, right? And it's quite simple, in fact. What you are going to do is to go to your cloud zones. And the cloud zones, just so you know, is kind of like a slice in the cloud environment, right? You can see right here that I have multiple cloud providers, right? And in specific cloud zones. So I have a slice of AWS from VMC, which is VMware on AWS. I got native Azure as well, and many resources that are available to me, right? As a cloud admin, I'm not going to give you access to everything that is out there in the public cloud. I want to have some governance. I want to have some control. So I'm going to slice those environments and just give you a piece of that, right? And make it easy for you to consume those resources, because The other aspect is, as in this situation, right? You were doing something on vSphere. Now you have native AWS. Things are going to be a little bit different between these clouds, but how you're going to consume it is going to be the same way, right? So in this case, what I'm doing is just adding my public VMC. It's going to give me, the system is smart enough to give me, as administrator, visibility of how this specific cloud zone, this specific slice is performing, how much is being used, what is the projection about if I continue the consumption as it is right now, how long is it going to be available to me, right? And I can change that at any point. If I notice that things are getting busy, I can always come to the compute and then say, well, I need now these resources as part of the cloud zone, right? Maybe I just have the resource pool. I change my mind. I want to get more access. I'm going to add a cluster. And in this case, I can do host, cluster, resource pools. I have multiple of them. So I'm going to make sure that this cloud zone has access to it.
So, then, Francisco, just a quick question. Yes. Just want to make sure that for the users, they understand. So basically, you might have a fairly large environment that you're working from, but you can then allocate parts of that into different zones that then you could make available to a specific team or something, right? Is that sort of the basic?
Exactly. It's exactly like that. You describe it way better than me, but that's what it is.
And so that's really a function of like a cloud ops team that's sort of then preparing the sort of conditioning the environment for the teams that are actually going to use it, right?
Yes, think about it a little bit as a cake, right? The cloud is the cake, and if you're like me, I want to eat the whole cake. It's maybe chocolate, my favorite, but you don't want to give that to everyone, right? So you're going to slice it, right? And then say, yeah, you guys are good, so I'm going to give you 2 slices, maybe 3. Oh, there is a vanilla cake over there. Maybe I'm going to give you access to that one, right? And a piece of that. So I'm going to control how I serve,
wow,
right?
You're a popular guy. People are going to show up and give you things so they can get cake.
Yes, please. Cake. I'll take everything. I eat all the time, so that's my problem, actually. But yeah, that's why you do it, right? As an administrator, as an operations team, you want to control how those resources are consumed, right? And at any point, I can give you another slice, right? That's okay. It's going to be there in your plate. You don't need to worry about it. And I can do things a lot more dynamic, right? As my cloud environment keeps growing, if I add more cluster to my vSphere environment, those resources are going to be allocated, right? I can do that very dynamically. So as an operator, I can automate that process as well. And then I just make the assignment to the projects, right? That's what you see here. And that's good for the compute part, right? But the same concept applies to the networking, to the storage, right? So in terms of networking, you got something called network profiles, which is essentially the same thing. You have networks available to you already created. That doesn't mean that you cannot create your own. You can actually automate that process as well with NSX, right? But the same concept applies. You have some networks already pre-staged. You can go and say, well, from all these networks that I have there, again, I don't want to give you access to every single thing. I want to give you to some segments of those networks, right? So I can see them, vRealize can see them, and then I can make the assignment to you, right? Very similar concept with the compute. Now I'm talking networks. And the same concept applies to storage. Here I'm going to go and say, well, you got data stores. That's great. But again, I don't want to give you access to every single thing, only some specific ones. And more importantly, something that is a little bit different here is that I can actually define the configuration or the policy that how this data stores needs to be accessed, right? Think about maybe you want to use theme provisioning, right? Or thick for whatever reason. So you can actually define multiple profiles with specific capabilities that later on becomes relevant, because when you create your cloud templates, all you need to tell is, I need a storage. It has to have this capability. Go provision engine and find it for me, right? So it simplifies the process at the end of the day. All right. So when I have all this set up, right, as an administrator, I'm ready to start modifying my cloud template, right? And I already had one because we were using this existing environment. But again, right, we migrated. We are moving into expanding our cloud environment. So I'm going to update this definition. And I know many of the users, when we talk about infrastructure as code, they think it's really hard. And it is not. It's actually quite simple. But in the beginning, you may need some help. And in the VRA, we acknowledge that. And what we have here is, yes, in the middle, you had a visual representation of the workload. On my right, I have the actual code that I need to modify. Right here, you see, we want to modify the specific input because we want to give you access to the new cloud environment. But if I'm new and I need to do this, I also have the ability to use this kind of GUI option that is going to translate my input into code, right? So if I come here and say, well, I need to modify the environment, it's going to walk me through all the capabilities. And it's going to say, well, you actually can add more values here. So I can come here and say, well, yes, now it's going to have a VMC. So I want to make it simple to my team to consume. And by the way, our strategy is first cloud, then private. Then I'm going to change the default. I want to go to VMC first, right? And these changes that I just did with the GUI, it actually get translated into code, right? Now you can see that I have 2 entries, right? And if I'm an experienced user, I normally go to my Microsoft Visual Studio and I push in my changes through there because, again, it's code, right? So you got many different ways to do it. And once
hey, Francisco, sorry, I just want to sort of recap kind of what you're doing with the template. So you're creating sort of building block environments, right? That people can then, you can make available to the users, right? And I love the approach where you can use a GUI, or you can write it, or you might start with a GUI and then write some code, or you might start with writing some code and then use the GUI, and it sort of makes it super easy to sort of both create the environment either way you want to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. The tool is designed to be like more experienced DevOps teams can use it, start using it. People that is getting cloud admins that they want to expand the role, that more SRE, right, kind of approach, that you also have that introduction little by little, right? And the system is flexible enough. It's flexible in terms of how you can provide content or create content, but it's flexible enough as well for how the functionality can be put together. More than once I refer to VRA as a kind of like a Lego building blocks, because you got multiple components, and the cloud template itself is kind of like a Lego environment that you just start building something together. You put something together, and guess what? This is a workload, and the mechanics are the same. They are just constructs with properties. So it doesn't matter if it's a virtual machine, right? It has some properties: image, flavor, network. But if you're building something like in public cloud, something like Lambda, right, which is most abstracted, that's okay. You actually have a construct for Lambda that requires specific Lambda properties, but how you input that information is essentially the same. And once you understand this, the creation of the cloud template is super fast, super straightforward. And if you need to replace a component, it becomes really simple. I don't really need to change anything. I just go and say, I actually have to do it recently. I wanted to replace my MySQL database for AWS RDS. Why not? Because now I'm in the public cloud. I can do that. And it took me just to replace that component with another object, another construct. So my cloud template was reused for the most part. And like in this case, you can see how easy it was for me to modify it. And then all I need to do is to version, right? Because this is a new version, and publish it or release this new version in my catalog, right?
Yeah, version
good. Right.
Version control is really nice, because then you can like make sure that you're sort of adopting some of the core DevOps processes, right? You can sort of like version control it, make the code immutable. So instead of going in and changing the live environment, you change the template, redeploy that, and just sort of much better control and much more fidelity to keeping the process clean.
Yeah, exactly. It's code, right? So we are using the same techniques that you are using to build your applications, which are proven to work. So it's exactly the same. And when you have version control, that opens up the door to many other things like collaboration, right? You can expose the cloud template in a version control server, and then you can have a team that can work together from different, not only the IT department, but different organizations that can collaborate and say, you know what, it will be great to have this feature. That's an excellent idea. Let's all work it together. Let's publish it in the version control server. And then VRA is going to be able to run it, right? Like in this case, I'm keeping everything inside VRA, but nothing prevents me to fetch it from a version control server, have this collaboration, and then just release it to the point that then I can come here and say, well, there is a new version for my server, so I'm going to make sure that gets detected. And then I can go to my catalog, right? Now as an end user, as a developer, I can come here, see what all the workloads that I'm entitled to see. I can start filtering. I care for the ones about MOA. In this case, I have multiple projects because I belong to multiple organizations, so that's fine. And you can see that now the same object is there, but if you look closely, now we have a new entry, right? We got this new input that we just added through the code. And you can see I exposed the version. And in this case was something simple, right? Just an input, but it could be something more meaningful that, you may want some user to transition at their own time. So I could say, you know what, let's keep version 7 for a while because there's some workloads, some teams that still need that. But there are some other teams doing bleeding edge technologies that need the changes in 10. So I'm going to give you that option, right? So I can keep those versions available to you. And again, it becomes end user decision. And in here, because I went to the previous version, you can see that that change is not there, which is fine, right? But let's go back to number 10. When I get this, I can give it a name, whatever that is, my preferred name that I can select. I can provide some input. Yes.
Sorry, there was a comment in chat from someone that wanted to know how easy is it to do rollback, those sorts of things.
Super, super easy. You can, because it's version control, right? So if you ever have done any application, you can see that everything is handled by a commit or a version, right? So if I do things wrong, I change something I shouldn't, which believe me, I almost never do. I can go back and say, yeah, just release to the last well-known instance. So I can go to version 7 if I want, and just as before, because even though it looks like a single artifact under the hood, you actually have multiple copies of what is been happening, right? I can even actually compare how this version has been changed. So if I'm a new developer and they say, well, you need to continue the work with this Moa application. Okay, but from 7 to 10, what happened? I can actually go through vRealize and it will show me, oh, this is what we changed from 7 to 10. So got it. Just like version control, is any application, this is no different, right? It just happened to be infrastructure.
And this kind of goes to kind of how people try and treat code, now that DevOps has become more prominent, which is sort of the idea that code's immutable, right? You don't actually go and reconfigure things on the fly. You simply blow away the old instance and replace it with whatever you knew was the last good thing that worked. I mean, you have to do that in a smart way, obviously, when it comes to data and persistence and things like that. But that's sort of the model now with DevOps and continuous integration, continuous delivery.
Exactly. That's when you realize, oh, so I got the cloud template. So now the complexity that I have in my CI/CD is now reduced because now I can just call this instance and I'm going to get the same results. You can do even things like, remember, we have some deployments that we migrated, right? And let's say that now more changes. Now I need to add a load balancer because we are increasing capacity and whatnot. I can add that component in the cloud template, and I can go back and say, well, there is an existing deployment that doesn't have the load balancer, but I can actually update it now with a new release of the cloud template. So I don't really need to redeploy from scratch. I can just go and just say, this is my new intention. This is my new desired state. vRealize, go and make it possible to me, right? And it's going to see what is already there, compare the existing deployments with my new intention, and fill the gap. Say, this is what I need to do. So that simplifies the process. And we could, talk about many, many different use cases like that. But this is just, scratching the surface. You can experience cloud templates by in the hands-on labs and get things very interesting, really.
Hey, quick question, just for levity here. Moad stands for what? And I know the real definition.
Well, yeah, it's I believe it's mother of all demons because it didn't come from me. Okay.
No, I was around when that came, like probably 5-6 years ago.
But it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the whole motivation is not to show you a product, right? But to show you the value that brings, right? And not just, in this case, for today is vRealize automation. In the previous sessions, you have Bernie and VRops. And if you look at the vRealize suite, you got multiple components that you can leverage. But it's not about the components. It's not about the platform itself. It's the value that it brings, right? So we wanted to give you a story, a demo, but through a real use case, right? How you need to go from migrating to operating, all the challenges that you need to face, and how these tools are actually going to help you, right, to get there.
Exactly. No, great so far in showing kind of the end to end, right? It's because it's all about the core processes, not about the technology themselves.
Yeah, that's the story of my life, right? New things happening, things changes, you need to adapt, but the tool is flexible enough again to give you that flexibility to build, readapt, remove, change, update, create, like this one, right? If you see, I actually changed my cloud template. It's gonna affect how my price estimation is done, but I don't really need to worry about, oh, I need to go to vRealize or Cloud Health and tell it, you know what, now I have a new version of the cloud template, I need to change this. It's not going to work. It's going to take forever. So what we are doing is just defining the policies, how things need to be evaluated. So now with these changes, I'm using VMC, I can actually ask for an estimate, how much it's going to cost, and I just change it, right? And I publish. But VRA is able to talk to vRealize, to Cloud Health, and it's going to tell me, well, based on the information that you're sending me, I can evaluate against my policies, I can give you a price, right? How much is going to set you back if you run these workloads, and this is the daily estimate that you can see, right? And very, very nice, broke it down into components, so you have an idea how this is put together.
And that way you can easily adjust and make adjustments directly in the platform and the solution. You don't have to leave based on what your budget is and what you're estimating and what different teams are requesting.
Exactly. And if you are like me, I always go for the largest available. Right? Why not? Somebody else is paying, right? But when I do the analysis, I realize, like, you know what? I don't really need a GPU and this many IOPs and the largest CPU there is in public cloud if I just want to run my Hello World application, right? So when I see an estimate, I just need a small one and I'm done with it.
Ask for the whole cake, and you might get the slice that you actually
need.
Knows,
you may get it.
That's the whole cake.
You may get it.
You'll get the same 2 pieces Francisco is going to give you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. But right, this is what you're trying to prevent, that somebody says, you know what, I have a credit card, keep your K, I'm going to the store.
Yeah.
So you want to prevent that. You want to give them the K, the one that is actually even better, but you want to make sure that it's consumed appropriately, right? That you don't have a stomach later on or something, that you give them what they really need and be happy, right? And that's the point. If you see here, we open the public cloud, but from my end user experience, it's business as usual. I'm just giving you intention, input, but how you deal with the public cloud, that's what vRealize is doing the best, right? And I still get what I need without having to go and do here's my credit card, my own account, oh, I need to claim this now. Now, finally, somebody's catching up and saying, why are you doing this? And, you don't really need that. You just need to go to a place that you can call through APIs, through the GUI, again, many different ways, and get the kind of workloads that you really need, right?
So this really provides a frictionless way to open up, to any cloud, basically, for the teams, but also to layer in governance so that it's a well-managed cloud, if you will, right? So
exactly. Making the clouds invisible, right? Whether it's VMC, AWS, vSphere, Azure, you name it, from the end user point of view, it's the same experience, right? I don't really need to worry about it. If you notice, I didn't have to worry about what is the flavor for the VMC, because even though it's a vSphere-like kind of environment, my image and my flavors could be entirely something else, right? So I'm abstracting that. vRealize is doing it for me, so I can just worry on what is the most important, which is the input that I want to provide. And I already pre-deployed this. So once we do this, right, you're going to find your deployments, everything that you own or even share with your teams, and you can even filter, right? Because you may have multiple workloads there. I don't want to see every single thing. I want to see only the ones from the project Moad, right? And I can actually come here and see more details about it, right? And this is really great because yes, public cloud, private cloud, I can consume it really fast. But you also need to know at any given time where to find all these workloads, right? What are the details of these workloads, how they are performing, right? It doesn't matter where they go. I don't want to be the one saying, find me this cluster, this resource pool, or this region. I just want to build me a machine, but at the same time, I want to know how to find that machine, right? So when I deploy this cloud template through the service broker, I actually get a lot of information about the deployment itself. You can recognize that the same topology that I have in my cloud template is actually reproduced in the deployment. This is an instantiation of that cloud template. So the constructs are a visual representation of my workloads that are there, and you can see the details about them. I can go to the history because this may be a deployment that I also sharing with somebody else. So I can see who's been doing some operations, right? So I can audit this at any point. And these actions are secondary actions, right? Maybe we have a specific use case, a corner case that requires that my boot disk needs to be slightly larger than the standard MOA, right? Who knows? Or maybe I need an extra network because we are trying a new development. I don't know. You can update that on the fly. Again, this is because the cloud template allows you to do that. And you can track all these operations. And not only that, as things keep evolving, right? Maybe you power off the machine, maybe you remove one of the machines, you also get a price analysis of how your cost is being performing, because maybe, if you are responsible, like everybody, you power off your workloads before you go for the weekend, right? And that means that your cost comes down, and you can see right here that maybe some of those activities have been happening, and I can tell that, you know what, as a team, we're actually being more optimal. We are making a better use of these resources, and I can filter by month, by week, by day, right? But probably one of the tabs that I like the most is the monitor one, right? Because again, I'm a developer, maybe I'm developing this new application. We are changing the core of the MOA application, and maybe we are going to be messing around with some performance. So we want to see how that plays out with those changes, right? So without having to call the operations guy, right, my operations team, that may come back to me maybe immediately, maybe in a week, right? I got full visibility again, right? I got access to what's actually these workloads, how they are performing in terms of KPIs. I can see how they are performing. So I can clearly say, oh, you know what? That change that we did is really hitting the performance. Or, you know what? We broke something because now the CPU is to the roof, and it shouldn't be like that. I don't need to call anybody. I just can go do my build and test it again, right? And maybe a different deployment altogether, right?
I could see with this too, you're easily able to identify where there are peaks and troughs in the activity and how much resources you actually need to pull or storage or vice versa. So you can set stop and start policies potentially for additional cost savings or workload savings based on the visibility that you're seeing in this tool and when you actually need capacity or not.
Exactly, because you can say, you know what, we are doing the right thing, but existing Moad flavors is not going to make it. We need to do some changes. So I can go back to my cloud template and adjust it as well, a new release. And again, completely transparent to my end user, right? Because now they're going to say, oh, this is performing well. Yeah, even the application is heavier because it keeps adding features, the Moad application, but they keep performing well because the cloud templates that I select, they are giving me exactly what I need. And as a developer, I can tell clearly how things are performing in almost real time, because this is information that vRops is collecting and sharing with VRA. And VRA is just presenting to you and closer to a single pane of glass, which doesn't exist, but you get enough information for your workload, right? Which at the end of the day, that's what you care about it. You don't care much as a developer about what else is happening. I'm working on this. I want to know details about this specific workload. I get it right here at the tip of my hands, so I can, perform a lot faster, right? And get to the end goal a lot faster. And that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. If you got more questions, maybe we can talk about it.
Great demo. Really nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. And we'll give some time, just a little bit here, if people do have any final questions coming in. But yeah, with that, Francisco, any closing thoughts that you have for us, or any recommendations for next steps for anyone?
Well, as I said before, I got a key thing. So I do birthdays, bar mitzvahs. So I'm going to leave my contact information there for entertainment. But no, but no, this is evolving, right? We didn't touch too much about, say, things like cloud health, but this is evolving to public cloud. We went through VMC, but think about multi-cloud. VRA is not just for vSphere, it's for really multi-cloud, right? So give it a try because they are complex concepts, but when you try them and the way they're implemented, you can start building things really fast without too much complexity, right? Without much learning. So try it because it won't change your life, but it's going to make it easier.
It's awesome. Hey, this was great, Francisco. Hey, I had some thoughts before we close off, and then I'll turn it back to you, Lauren. But this is, we're almost at the end of our homage, or whatever the right word is. But, we're paying tribute to sysadmins this month. And this sysadmin month, we've made it, there's actually an official day, but we made it into a month. Virtual admins, obviously we're super grateful for everything you've done for us. I'm wearing actually my VMware, one of my favorite shirts, VMware VMworld 2011. It was the first VMworld I went to.
Nice.
And that was a lot of fun. This was part 3 of the session on operational hybrid cloud, but we're also going to then next week turn our attention to operationalizing the public cloud, which can be viewed obviously within the context of the hybrid cloud, but also there are a lot of folks that are running workloads natively on those public clouds, and we've got some great things to say and look at in that area as well. So super happy to be continuing. Been fun having you, Francisco, as sort of closing the loop on the operationalizing the hybrid cloud. So it's also good. It was all good. And Lauren, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Covered it, and some exciting stuff to look forward to for next week, continuing that conversation with Cloud Health and vRealize. So you get to see those working together more specifically in your public cloud and multi-cloud environments. Again, thank you, Francisco. With that, there are some links in the YouTube description if you're looking to see more information about this and what we've covered today. And we also have a link pointing to a self-service VMware Cloud on AWS offering right now. So you can purchase this online and get started right away. So we encourage you to check that out as well.
And one last thought, Aaron, which is if you like what you're seeing on this, please subscribe. We definitely would love to have you part of be part of the family, if that's available to you, because we're obviously coming on multiple channels. So, but if that's part of what's available to you, please subscribe.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everyone, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you guys.